wife got tired of me running round, so she tried to keep me home. She broke my nose, hit my clothes, but I continued to roll. Then she finally hit my weak spot, threatened to throw my bottle out. Well, from the basement to the rooftop, everybody could hear me shout, give me that wine, oh, give me that wine, give me that wine. 'Cause I can't get loose without my juice. Gotta have Hot Lucy when I go out walking, you know. One day when I was crossing the avenue, a big car knocked me down. I was stretched out tying up traffic, and crowds came from blocks around.
Okay. And this is why it's so at this time of year, because hail could just destroy it. And they have had hail at other areas, but so far so good. We're lucky, fingers crossed. Because tomorrow the weather should improve. Today I think most of the thunderstorms have gone, but
Now the police were checking my pocket before they sent me to the funeral parlor. But when one of them cops grabbed my bottle jack, I jumped straight up and commenced to holler, give me that wine, oh, give me that wine, give me that wine. 'Cause I can't get well without muscatel. I only drink for medicinal purposes anyway. Well, one really dark and dreary night, as I was staggering home to bed, a thief jumped from out of the shadows and put a blackjack upside my head. That cat took my watch, my ring, my money, and I didn't make a sound. But when he reached in and got my bottle, you could hear me for blocks around. Give me that wine.
at the moment we're in the middle of the vineyard, which is called Cisterna Fori. The reason it's called Cisterna Fori is because there's a well in the centre of the vineyard, and it's a family name. It means outside well. The other vineyards we can see from where we are here, there's San Nicolò, and as I mentioned earlier, San Nicolò is an eruption from 12,000 years ago, whilst this vineyard is on the part of eruption from 125 BC. Now the third vineyard is, we can just see it here, there's a ridge there, there's some pink, doing a pano. There's some pink flowers there, can you see on that ridge, and can you see the stakes poking up? Now that is the other vineyard called Chianti, and it shares, this is part of the same crater, so that soil type is the same as this one, so 125 BC eruption. And we are at an altitude of 700 metres above sea level. The vines, as you can see, are all planted what's called alberello, which they are sort of individual standing bush and supported by chestnut stakes, because the chestnut is very, very durable. It doesn't sort of rot that easily. Now you can see the different vineyards. This vineyard is actually facing towards the sea. San Nicolò is facing down south. And Chianti, the other vineyard, is southeast. We've got, as you can see, as I mentioned earlier, all the fruit trees planted amongst the vines. So there's lots of cherry in this vineyard, lots of cherry, pear and apple. And the other vineyard, Chianti, there's lots of peach. And San Nicolò, there are 5 cherry trees.
And just for our documentary, what is your name?
My name is Stephanie Biondi, that's right.
Pleased to meet
Ciro,
you.
Pleased to meet you. And as I mentioned earlier, I met Ciro in 1999. Now Ciro is actually from Trecastagni, born and bred, and his name is Cirino, after one of the patron saints. There's Cirino, Alfio and Philadelphia, and so he's one of the saints. His family have had these vineyards that we found going back to about the 1600s. But as I mentioned, the house in Trecastagni dates back to the 1500s, and the cellar is there, so wine would have been made and brought from the vineyards all that time ago. So what we're doing is we're continuing sort of a family legacy, something that had been abandoned, because Ciro's got 2 sisters who are not interested in, they like drinking wine.
Oh, give me that wine, give me that wine, beat my head out of shape, but leave my grave. Why, drinking money ain't nothing. Don't mess with my wine, Jim. Well, one day my house caught fire while I was laying down sleeping off a nap. And when I woke up, everything was burning with a pop and a crackle and a snap. Now the fireman chopped up my TV set and tore my apartment apart. But when he raised his axe to my bottle, I screamed with all my heart, give me that wine, oh, give me that wine, give me that wine, so I could drink one toast before I roast. No sense going out half-baked, might as well be old.
And it was awful. Anyway, we kept the vines, and then when we started making wine like properly, with sort of vinifying it in a sort of with more technology in '99, we also did the Cabernet Sauvignon, but with just one barrique, just for personal use. And it's absolutely gorgeous. Now, the interesting thing is when Eric Asimov came for the tasting of the Caricante, we slipped a glass of the Cabernet in, and he couldn't guess what it was. He thought it was maybe a Nebbiolo, and this goes to show how the soil is mightier than the grape. So it doesn't show. I mean, it's elegant. You've got acidity, and it isn't sort of like one of the usual Cabernet Sauvignon you associate with that. It's got some. When you taste it from the barrel, you've got this the green peppers, but once it gets into the bottle, and very few people can actually identify it. So this actually how shows that Etna is really quite the soil is more important than the terroir. And when Shira was saying about the Nerello, the Caricante being stupid grapes, it means that taken elsewhere, it wouldn't have the same varietal. Yeah.
Well, them chicks look fine, but I love my wine. Now some folks like money, some like to dance and dine, but I'll be happy if you